Excuse me. Welcome to Comfort Havoc number 2. So I'm gonna address this because I have to, and because excuse me, it's another video that pissed me off. It's also midnight, so I'm only gonna do one more video after this. I can start posting them and go to sleep. This is not hate speech. This is also fact. So apparently, there's a young woman of color who's not Asian but goes by the name Asian Doll. She was slammed over um, time colorism tweet. Alright, so I'm on the fence. I'm going to read you guys the tweet, and then I'm going to tell you that this color wheel does exist. I did a video on it here on YouTube, so if you're watching, you can go there. This came from mtonesw.com. So I guess it's MT1 News. I don't know what the hell any of that says. So I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to fire off my 2 cents. And I absolutely have no idea who the hell Asian Doll is. So whoever you are, ma'am, I don't know you. We're not going to war. I'm just following what I normally do. Alright, so rapper Asian Doll faces backlash on Twitter after she hopped online making a point about colorism and admit that the National Black Lives Matter protest. A lot of light-skinned girls post Black Lives Matter like the hoes not racist too. Y'all bully dark-skinned girls all of our lives. So apparently Asian Doll is darker skinned. Y'all bullied dark-skinned girls all of our lives. Y'all was better than us. Y'all talk about our skin color like us monkeys, she wrote. She then goes to say, you hoes, frauds, but keep spreading fake love. You hoes will never understand us. She continues, light-skinned bitches, way evil and jealous of dark-skinned girls than the white folks. But the difference of racist topics. Alright, so I guess that's her. I don't know if y'all can see her over here in the corner where that finger is. This broad over here. So, Asian Doll. A lot of light skin. He's got hoes and all kinds of other stuff written here. I'm not going to read that shit. And then it goes into like you can find her on Instagram. So anyway, let's continue. While many agree that Asians point, many of her followers felt her timing was off considering the current state of affairs. Protests have been taking place in major cities across the world following the death of an unarmed black man named George Floyd. There is also a worldwide pandemic. Hundreds and thousands of Americans are being infected by COVID-19. There's a lot of other Instagram stuff here. I guess there are the insults. I guess that's it, because there's nothing else but pictures of 6ix9ine and some other people. Alright, so let's read my comment, because if anybody's qualified to tackle this, it would be the mixed guy, who has 2 skin tones, dark and light, dark and light, dark and light, dark and light. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay, so this is what I wrote. My turn. Let me speak on this shit. If anyone is overly qualified for this issue, it is a man like me. Mixed ethnicity that is being Cherokee, Indian, Black, and White American. Here's something to put on. Here's something that only black people know. And a few whites and a few Asians have this too, but more so than not, we have a color wheel of our skin tone. Some of what she said is half right. Some of what she said is half wrong. But it's not just females; it's males too. I'm gonna get into that, or you can go see the whole color wheel video saga that I've done. So I will make another video about that tonight, which we're doing right now. Comfort Havoc number 2. There are plenty of videos. I've done plenty of videos. Other celebrities have done color wheel videos, or other YouTubers rather. I won't call them super celebrities because they're more famous than me, but at the same time, they've done this. So let's talk. As I just showed you, dark to light, 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 light to dark, light to dark, light to dark. So, This bride, I wonder if I can actually get her picture to show up. That's not her, that's some advertisement. Okay, I guess I gotta go to her Instagram page to get her picture. How the hell do you get her picture? This ain't even the girl's profile. This is just the Shade Room following. I have no idea who the hell the Shade Room is. Okay, well, I can't make this picture grow any bigger. So, whoever the Sam Hell Asian doll is, this is not letting me get to her. Let's see if I can do it this way. Search. Oh, search is up there. I hate technology. ASIANDOLL. That is DL. Okay. There is a lot of Asian dolls. I have no idea which one is the real one. I'm going to go with this check mark on this thing. I am not going to follow you, but I'm going to take and see. Okay. I don't want to show the wrong person. But I think this is her. Yep, that's her. Alright, so this is Asian doll. Alright, so this is Miss Asian doll. She's brown. She's like my complexion, maybe a little lighter, maybe a little darker. We're not standing side by side, so I can't really address the color wheel issue. I don't know what I just done there, but we're gonna follow her. That Asian doll, Daniela Shoot. So we're gonna follow her, and we're gonna follow. Oh well, we can't follow her because she just passed away. Okay, well, I'll have to check that out later. Sorry, completely out. So I just showed you guys a picture of Miss Asian doll. I've also screwed up trying to get this thing back to the Topbuzz thing. So, Miss Asian doll is a little bit darker than most women of color, or she's in the middle of the color wheel spectrum. Like I'm not in the middle; I'm closer to the light than the dark. As we just showed that, but here's how this works. There's jealousy on both ends of the spectrum. Let's completely be honest about that. Light skinned people don't think that they're better than dark skinned people, but dark skinned people think that light skinned people are better, or they think that light skinned people think that they're better than dark skinned people. And not too long back, there was a thing about how much Africa are you, because if you have a light skin tone, you're probably more closer to white than Africa, with the exception of the fact that Egyptians were also exceptionally light, but people really don't go there because Cairo, Egypt, they were not darker. About to say Native Americans. They were not darker Africans. They were like lighter Africans. King Tut and all of them were not pitch black darkness as they call them. They were brown to a higher level of brown. They're like the Moors when they would travel. The Moors, and anybody I offended with the pitch black thing, I'm sorry, but that wasn't what I was trying to say. It's what I said, but it wasn't how it was supposed to be said. So you have a lot of shades of brown people that are of African descent. For black people, as in Americans, not African Americans, because if you're not immigrating from Africa to America, you are not an African American. Your ass is black. Remember that. I like the way Whoopi Goldberg puts it. There are black people and they're African immigrants that become African American, and they're the ones that talk with a heavy, thick accent. Anyway, or they could be Jamaican, or from Trinidad, or they could be Samoan, which they look black, but they're actually Asian, or they're Polynesian rather. But anyway, all the jokes aside, here we go. This color wheel thing, it is a thing that has gone on since slaves have been free. And the reason why it basically started was because the darker skinned slaves noticed that the lighter skinned slaves were treated particularly better in most cases, other than the darker skinned slaves. Let me explain that for those who are not up to speed. This is a wheel chart. right? So if you have exceptionally light skin and you were a freed slave and you look more like whites, a lot of people who, like my mom, can pass for white, um, they carried slaves before freedom of slavery happened up north. Like they pretend like that person was their slave and literally carried them up north. And even though that person wasn't their slave, it was like their family members, like, this is our slave, and we're going up here, and we got a new job in Canada or whatever. And that's how a lot of the Underground Railroad stuff also happened. Those are the stories that you are not told. But, the color wheel started happening with the Jim Crow laws and the freedom of slaveries. And a lot of the slaves who are light skinned are either white people who was with slaves, which were indentured servants, or they were children of rape from the overseers and the slave masters, which is how a lot of slaves got light children. These light children were given somewhat special treatment if they was a master's kid and they were at the house when company came. The master would never tell anybody, I'm sorry for talking ignorant, the master would never tell anybody that that child of a slave was his child. It's the same BS with the Thomas Jefferson, Sally Hemings thing, where if they had slaves of they had sex with their slaves and had babies by their slaves, the slaves would come out more this color than this color, or than the darker color. Now every now and again they probably would get a darker child because depending on how much genetic material comes from what parent. If the parent is exceptionally brown or dark, I'm trying to be as unoffensive as possible. If the child came from a slave who was on the darker end of the spectrum, like the darkest end of the spectrum, there's a slim chance that you would get a light child. There is a higher probability that you would get a darker child. And those childs were basically treated like dirt, or as they call in Vietnam, a dust child, which also way back into the future here, um, the Vietnamese women would be treated as sex toys for soldiers, and they would also produce dust children, which would be kids that were either black or white mixed with Vietnamese kids or Vietnamese women, which would treat the kids like dust. Long story. Not dirt, but dust. Long story. We're not going to go there because this is about the black color wheel. Asians also have a color wheel, but it's more of a society color wheel. I made a video about that. You can go check that out here on YouTube also. But for all medicinal purposes of what Asian doll is speaking of, is that because she falls in the middle, she's probably been a victim of both. Like I have been a victim of both because I have been a victim of mulattoes. Because mulattoes are people like my mom who can actually, they look more white than black or mixed, and they have all the white traits. They have the great hair, they have the great light skin, they never skin burn, they have all the other traits. My brother looks mulatto, but he does not have nice hair. One of my sisters looks mulatto. She's the one I had the heart to heart with the other day. But uh, she has nice hair, but it's nowhere as good as mine. Anyway, and all of my other siblings, we are all either high yellow or brown. And all of the grandkids are either high yellow or brown. We rarely have dark kids in our gene pool. We have like maybe one in all of them that's darker than everyone else. But for the most part, we're all a fair shade of brown or high yellow. So I have been called high yellow before. Don't think that that's not offensive. I have been called high yellow. I haven't been called red bone, but red bone is more directed towards the girls than the guys. Usually they call the guy red. They just call him red, because his skin's a lot lighter. So the color will insist on that the lighter your skin, you're closer to white, which means you're closer to right. Where the darker your skin is, you're closer to black, which means you're wrong and you're treated nasty. And if you ride somewhere in the middle, you're going to catch it from all ends. It's just a matter of who you're dealing with at that time. If you seem to act like you're a prissy person around people who are darker than you, they're going to take that wrong and be offended and say that you think you're better because you're lighter than me. If you act around a light-skinned person, you already assume that they think they're better because they're lighter than you. So you're going to act like an ass to them. In turn, they're going to act like an ass to you because here's how that color scale works. When you see a Hollywood movie, you generally see somebody who's colored like me to play the hero if that person is black. All right, and you generally see someone who plays like someone like Wesley Snipes' color or Mahershala Ali. If it's going to be the villain, you generally get them in their color wheel of the circle. I'm not saying that's a bad thing because it keeps actors working and I need a job, but at the same time, the stereotypical stuff whenever you see a black gangster movie, the gangsters are always exceptionally dark, with a couple occasions where Marcus Chan, excuse me, Marcus Chong, Radon Chong's brother, um, has played a bad guy, but he was light skinned and it was unexpected. But he was also playing half Chinese, half black. So he automatically was playing the bad guy because he was half Chinese and half black. Even though he is half Chinese and half black, he's also half Canadian. But, that's probably where the black came from because Tommy Chong is Chinese. He's like mixed with Chinese and Spanish or Chinese and white or something. But anyway, that's not part of this. The fact of the matter is that the color wheel started back in slavery time and it hasn't gone anywhere. So when you see a black superhero, you don't get to see darker superheroes. In fact, if it wasn't for Shaquille O'Neal playing Steel, you probably would never have really seen too many dark superheroes. And if it wasn't for Wesley Snipes playing Blade, you probably wouldn't see too many black superheroes. Now, Chadwick Boseman is a little bit lighter than Shaquille O'Neal and a little bit lighter than Wesley Snipes. But Michael B. Jordan is lighter than Chadwick Boseman, and he played Killmonger, who was a light-skinned bad guy. So you see the color wheel difference, but the guy who played young T'Challa versus the guy that played Killmonger's dad, well, Killmonger was outside playing basketball, and young T'Challa's dad, T'Chaka, killed him or whatever it was he did. They had some color wheel issues, but both of those guys were like the same color. Where young Killmonger was dark, Killmonger, when he was a kid, he was a lot darker than Michael B. Jordan. Because when Michael B. Jordan, and I'm going to say this because it's very rare that when a kid that is mixed grows up, that this happens, that they go from here to here. We generally go from here to here. My arms should be this color. I just refuse to wear long sleeve shirts. And every job I've had outside of restaurants have been involved with working in the sun. So I'm brown. My natural color is all yellow. So, the color wheel has been a thing. And it continues to be a thing. And it is a thing that black people refuse to address. So as I close out, let me go into the Asian society color wheel before I go. So the Asian society color wheel kind of works where, depending on the country, if my country is richer than yours, I'm higher in society even if I am the poorest person in my country. If I'm a very poor Chinese, I'm richer than you from Nepal. So I expect to be treated better. And that's kind of how that works. I'm not picking on the Chinese. I love Chinese people. I have a lot of Chinese friends. And it would go the same with like Japanese, because the Japanese once occupied China. So they made a clusterfuck with China and we're Japanese, we're better, blah, 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 which is kind of what started the fucking war with those guys. And then if you go with like North and South Korea, they're not worried about China or Japan because they have their own problems in Korea with North and South Korea. So, their society wheel is like the black color wheel. However, when you go to places like Indonesia, Jakarta, Malaysia, uh, Guam, and places like little islands of Asians where they tend to be a little bit more my color because they're living in a tropical area, so they're going to be a little bit tanner. And living in a tropical area, you don't get too much light unless you're like living in the city. If you're living out in the wilderness of the country and you're working gardens, you're out in the sun all day until rainy season. Because some places only have certain seasons. That's why a lot of Filipinos are also kind of brown too. So, which is why when I was going to school, the original time I was going to school, Miss Carmelita, wherever she is, I love her. Not like a mother, more like a mother love than a girlfriend boyfriend love. Plus, she has a husband and a giant daughter who's like 6'2". So when I first met Carmelita, I didn't know she was Filipino. I knew she was Asian. I thought she was Hawaiian because she has this long, beautiful hair. And she's like, "Yeah, well, I'm Filipino." And when we first met, she spoke to me in Spanish first and then Tagalog. And I was like, I only speak English. She says, "Aren't you Filipino?" And I was like, "No, ma'am." I said, "I'm not Filipino. I'm Native American, black and white." She's like, "Oh, well, you look Filipino." And at that time, I never knew that Native Americans were actually Asian. So it's like, "No, I'm sorry. I'm none of those. I'm closer to black than I am Filipino." So we got along very well. And when I met her daughter, reverse scenario. When I met her daughter, because I didn't know she was Carmelita's child because she was also mixed and she looked more light like me. So I assumed that she was Native American. So when I met her, until I found out she was Carmelita's daughter, I said, "God, are you part Native American?" She said, "No." I said, "Okay, well, you look part Native American." She said, "Why would you say that?" I said, "Because I'm part Native American and we kind of resemble each other in the face." And she's like, "Well, hell, honestly, I thought you were part Filipino." I was like, "No, I'm definitely not Filipino." And she's like, "Well, I'm going to see my mom." And I was like, "Who's your mom?" "Oh, my mom's Carmelita. She works here in the digital lab." I said, "Wow, Carmelita never said she had a daughter, and she never said that her daughter was a giant." So her daughter was like she towered over me. But again, with the color wheel and the Asian society wheel, it works pretty much the same. However, I will not say that all Asians view it that way. A lot of Asians just get along, and a lot of Asians don't get along. So you just have to accept the society rule. If I have offended anyone who is black about the color wheel or Asian about the society wheel, I apologize profusely. I'm just slapping y'all in the face with the truth. I'm not trying to be a racist or a dick. I'm just letting you know how it works. Because in my 40 some odd years of life, I've learned a lot. Because I've had Asian friends who are Filipino. I have no idea where they are right now. I have Asian friends who are Chinese. I worry about their safety all the fucking time because of the COVID virus. I have Asian friends who are Vietnamese. And by the way, everyone whose ethnicity I just named were in my first movie called Fallen Dragons. And as soon as I find the footage, I promise I'm going to get it up here unless I die before that happens. But anyway, that being said, there's a lot of Asians that I know of different races. I had a guy named Adrian Cow play my brother in my first movie, Fallen Dragons. I had another guy play my enemy. His name is Eric Chen. Adrian Cow and Eric Chen are both Chinese. And they did a great job. Thanks, brothers. And I feel that they're my brothers. No. But I will tell you this. I don't have to protect those two at all. If I get this movie up, you'll see why. Adrian was awesome, and Eric was awesome. Eric taught me that pressure points do work when he jammed my toes up and I couldn't straighten them up for like an hour. Then he fixed it. I need to learn that. But yeah, so pressure points do work. But yeah, the Asian society wheel is basically the same thing as the black color wheel. And so you guys just have to figure out where you fit in, accept everybody, and move on. This is Kung Fu Havoc number 2. Be seeing you. Thanks for watching. Like and share.